This is a 2021 Mercedes-Benz S580 sedan 4Matic, a mild hybrid luxury car long serving as the benchmark of large car opulence that just happens to have 496 horsepower. And yet it can maneuver around tight spaces like a compact. And of course, it will do so while giving you a massage from the seats and de-stressing you by the energizing comfort, light, and sound system. My name is Robin Warner, an experienced engineer and magazine editor, and I like comfort. The S580 is the higher of two levels of S-Class currently offered, not including the S-Class coupes or cabriolets, nor the EQS electric car, because they are an entirely different kettle of fish. But for this new generation sedan, you choose between the S500, which is powered by a 3-liter inline 6, and this S580, which gets 8 cylinders in a V formation. But both are 4Matics, and you can option either to the 9. In this S580, you get a twin turbocharged 4-liter V8 with a peak 496 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. That power then goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission and on to all 4 wheels, 4Matic. Additionally, the 48-volt system Mercedes calls EQ Boost delivers an extra peak 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque in short bursts when the engine asks for a bit of assistance. The base price for the 2021 Mercedes-Benz S580 sedan 4Matic is $117,350, and my test car costs $131,500. For those that are interested, I included detailed specifications, including dimensions, fuel economy, and options in the description. All right, let's take a look around the car. Well, here it is, the 2021 Mercedes-Benz S580 sedan 4Matic. This is a brand new generation car with a lot of brand new generation stuff and a brand new generation look as well. And this particular car is painted in graphite gray metallic, which is actually a standard paint color. Oftentimes metallic paints have some kind of upcharge, but not here on the S-Class. Now, this is a brand new design, like I said. You can see it in the headlights, you can see it in the grille, you can see it in the body in general. But the first thing I noticed was that Mercedes put the logo in 2 places. You get the logo down here with Mercedes-Benz, and you get the old school but very cool hood ornament right there. That's nice. Now, the grille actually has a lot of tech right there. This it's probably got something to do with adaptive cruise control right here. You've also got a camera down here. You have sensors built in over here, and just there's a lot going on in the grille. I like the metal that's incorporated into. I like the metal perimeter of it, and you see that down here as well. The shinier metal in the fins here, but of course you also have these nice fancy headlights, LED and all that kind of stuff. And in case you forget, it's the multi-beam LED headlights made by Mercedes-Benz. Looking at this car in profile, you can see that this is a very big sedan, but it's got a bit of a swoopy shape to it. You know, it's got this like nice flow down into the back trunk right there. It's not squared off, and it's kind of leaning just a little bit towards the CLS design, kind of that like 4-door coupe, air quotes on that, kind of a shape. But I think it's a really nice shape here, really nicely done. And you know, it has the look, the stately look of a Mercedes-Benz, but definitely looks modern as well. Part of the look is this lower metal side skirt running down, nice down low right there, as well as some of that metal I showed you in front down low. And as I move to the back, you'll see it there as well. That's part of the AMG line package, and that adds $4,300 to the car. But you know, when you're in this price category, that's not that much in terms of the ratio, so maybe it's not so bad, and it looks cool. You do get dual exhaust tips, and those are not the actual tips, of course. The real tips are buried in there. The rear end is actually pretty darn clean and simple. But there are actually some really clever parts of this body that we should talk about. This car, the S580, has a coefficient of drag of 0.22, which is obscenely low. That's a crazy low number. Usually sedans, especially big sedans like this, have a coefficient of drag closer to 0.3. So the fact that Mercedes was able to take that much coefficient of drag off is really impressive. Now, much of it is actually underneath the car down low, having a really smooth body and those types of things. But there are actually a couple bits to show you on the body as well. Mercedes put a couple of air scoops in the sides here to help manage airflow under the front wheel fender here. Also, they did a lot of work with the side view mirrors to actually create a small vortex here to create turbulence around that, which adds turbulence here but actually smooths out airflow overall, Mercedes claims. Point is, 0.22 is a very impressive number, and part of the reason why, despite the fact that this thing is so big, it can achieve 25 miles to the gallon on the interstate. Let's take a look inside. Okay, we'll start by quickly showing you trunk space. I've got the key fob right here, and it's actually, considering the size of this thing, it's not that huge of a trunk, but it's perfectly fine, and it looks very nice in here. It's very stylish as far as trunks go, I suppose. And if you lift this up, you do get a little bit of extra storage down low. But things definitely get more interesting once you look in the cabin, and actually even getting into the cabin brings up some really interesting points. So I just talked about that 0.22 coefficient of drag. Well, part of it is these flush mounted door handles right here. So this helps reduce coefficient of drag as well and plays a role in such a low number. And you're like, okay, that's cool. Maybe even you think it looks cool, but how do you get in the car? Touch the door handle and it says Mercedes right there and gives you something to open the door with, and it's actually solenoid driven. And of course, you've got a lot of controls right on the door. Power windows, side view mirror control. Here are your automatic lights right here as well. Seat adjustments right here. Heated and cooled seats, seat memory. This is access to the trunk right there. You've got really nice, this is illuminated metal kick plate right here with more metal right here. You can see the seats themselves have lots of contour, nice thick and soft leather, big upper and lower bolsters, and a pillow top for your head. And these seats are also very adjustable and massaging. Now, actually, before I get in, I want to show you one other thing. Of course, these are soft closing doors, and you can't see it, but underneath here, there is a light that illuminates a TriStar down on the ground, and I actually recorded that in my garage. I'll show you that right now. Okay, now let's get in. All right, we've got a 12.3 inch instrument cluster screen right here and a 12.8 inch center console touchscreen right here. The steering wheel has a lot of controls on it, of course, for adaptive cruise control and some adjustments to the instrument cluster right here. And then you have more controls over here, phone, stereo volume, those types of things. And then you've got a huge amount of buttons right here. But before we get to that, you've got cup holders, space, wireless phone charging right there, good amount of space down here. Look up here, there's more controls, but it's a little dark in here. Let me do something about that. As you can see, we've got panoramic moonroof right here, and it's opened in two separate compartments, front and back, and that allows tons more light in. And then when I open this up, you can much more easily see the USB charging ports right there. Of course, we can have them closed, and also down here, that is for shade in back. Do that. And the rear windows, they're already up. The windows are already up, but if I press them again, you have those shades in the rear side windows, including the back window there, and then the back window. And then you have privacy screens for the panoramic moonroof up there. Going back to the seats, I have heated and ventilated seats. That's not too big of a surprise, but it's not just that I have heated seats. If I turn that on, I have heated seats, heated outer armrest, and heated inside armrest, and heated steering wheel, because I have the warmth and comfort package. It's $3,800 and it is so worth it because everything is warm, and on a nice cold fall day in Michigan, everything being warm inside the car is super nice. And in addition to that, the S-Class has this like supplemental 48 volt electric heater. So this will start pumping out heat inside the cabin long before the engine warms up to provide heat on its own. So super, super cool. Anyway, let me show you in back. I showed you the different shades and stuff like that. You can also control that from back here, but you also have seat adjustment and seat memory and heated and ventilated seats here as well. You get tons of legroom. You know, I'm 5'11" or 181 centimeters tall, and I have plenty of seat adjustment, so the seat hides just how I want it. I have plenty of thigh support. I can adjust that. I can lean the seat back some. If we don't have 5 people in the car, of course, we've got our own little center console space, and of course, we've got cup holders, so plenty of luxury back here. Here's some more USB charging ports, and right here we have some adjustments to the ventilation as well. Let's get back to the front. There's more to show. And while I'm getting in, I'll quickly show you. Here is a setting to turn on the heated steering wheel independently, and also the steering wheel adjustment, tilt and telescoping, of course. Okay, we've got 4-zone climate control in the S-Class, 2 in front, 2 in back. But I want to talk a bit about the seats a little bit more. As you can see, they are massaging seats. And not only is it, yes, you can have a massage, you can choose between many, many different types of massage. And then the seats themselves have all kinds of different adjustments. Seat kinematics, how the seat feels, lumbar adjustment, how much lumbar you want, how much bolsters you want, all these types of things. Then you have a dynamic multi-contour seat where the seat will actually press against you if you have lateral G in a corner or something like that. But there's something even cooler to talk about, and that is ambient lighting. You've got these lights that run along here and also down here, and you can change between 64 different lights, and you can also change the brightness and different effects that go on as you change the color. Right now it's at this purple setting. Let's make it more red, and all of a sudden you've got these red lights running along, and they run the entire perimeter of the interior here. And also you have something called energizing comfort, and you have a lot of different things to choose from here, and that takes the ambient lighting and the screen and the sound system and the seats and adds different fragrances and whether you want the music on and off, and you can choose how long these different programs go. Now, there is a lot to go over here. I'm just kind of scratching at the surface of that. So I actually did a separate video covering this in a little bit more detail. You can click on that. I have a link right here. Anyway, okay, moving on to the instrument cluster. This also has a bunch of different settings. So if I go to home right here, all of a sudden I have all these different options. So I can choose between a classic, you can also have the navigation up, exclusive, sport, and understated. So if I choose sport, for example, the screen changes. Now RPMs are down here, speeds up here, and this is torque output and horsepower output, and then I have turbo data and how many G's I'm pulling, a G-force meter. And check this out. See these lights here in this kind of like cylinder shape? How cool is that, right? Okay, but if I go back to home, there's this separate display up here. That's for the heads-up display. I can also change what the heads-up display looks like, and the camera doesn't pick it up. You can't really see it too well there, but let me assure you, the heads-up display is really big, really easy to see, and you can pretty much keep your eyes right on the road. So it's a really impressive heads-up display system, and you have, again, so many different options. First of all, I can turn it on or off. I have a lot of settings here, and that's like the height of it, the brightness, those types of things. Whether I want the eco display on or not. Mercedes has this thing called Augmented Reality where you can actually like imprint images on the road of like arrows to go this way or whatever. You can have that on or off right there. And then just the way the speeds look and those types of things. So tons of adjustment in the instrument cluster, in the heads-up display, and then a lot more adjustment down here. I mean, if I go to home, you can see I have a whole lot of options here. There's a lot going on just in the apps thing. Like, for example, I can check the web if I want. right from the car. And of course, there's a lot of different things you can do right here. You know, we have all these different cameras on the car. So that's the forward-facing camera, the rear-facing camera, the side views, both sides, automatic, kind of gives you this 360 view of the car. And as you can see, it is definitely fall in Michigan. And you also have this vehicle setting down here where you can turn on and off all different kinds of things. There's also different drive modes: Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, in an S-Class, and Individual. So that means there's a lot to talk about driving this car as well. So let's go for a drive. Hi everybody. Yeah, definitely excited to be driving the new generation S-Class from Mercedes, the 2021 S580 Sedan 4Matic. This thing is impressive on so many levels, on many engineering fronts, definitely in terms of comfort and luxury and all those kinds of things, and then performance as well. It's not a sports car, clearly, but it performs better than you might expect. And of course, we have to start with the powertrain. This gets Mercedes twin turbocharged 4-liter V8. That's in a lot of big Mercedes cars, and it does not disappoint in any of them, including this one. 496 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, and in addition to that, you've got the EQ boost system, which gives you an additional 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, and that is used mainly when the engine's at lower RPMs to help keep this thing moving, so you get what feels like close to full torque pretty much all the time. And that EQ boost electric motor is the starter generator, so this doesn't have a separate starter. And in fact, because of the EQ boost system, and in fact everything is run with electric motors, this does not have a drive belt system. There's no accessory belt attached to this 4-liter V8 because it's not necessary. Interesting little tidbit. If you choose the S500 instead of the S580, you get a 3-liter inline-six engine instead of this 4-liter, and you get 429 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque. But you do still get the EQ boost system, and that does still deliver the same 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. All that talk about engines, we got to see how this thing accelerates, so let's go do that. Okay. I'm going to switch to Sport Plus driving mode. Briefly slowing down. Bit of brake torque. Here we go. Man, it's not loud, but man, that is quick. Man, this is impressively quick, and not just in terms of the numbers, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, which is quite quick, but also in terms of feel. You get pushed into the seat, but you get pushed into the seat very smoothly. It's an elegant way to go very quickly, and I have to say I'm quite impressed with how active and lively it feels. Not just how quick it is, but just how easily it'll go as fast as it will go. According to Mercedes, the S580 weighs 4,775 pounds. That's very, very heavy. Yes, no denying that. But think about how much technology is in this car. This has tons of everything, basically, right? So it's actually lighter than I expected. And as a result of being 4,775, it actually has a better than 10-to-1 weight to power ratio. So that helps explain why this car feels so quick. And one of the ways that Mercedes managed to keep the weight down in the S-Class was they used a lot of aluminum, not just for body, but body shell, some of the structure as well. This has aluminum, not just metal. And of course, it has different grades of steel, high strength, ultra high strength, those types of things. But anyway, time to get out of the Sport Plus driving mode, back to comfort. I want to be comfortable after all. And this is a good point to talk about the drive modes. We have 5: Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and Individual. And of course, there's tons of different things you can change in this. It's not just powertrain effect. You get different throttle maps, you get different transmission calibrations, but this is also a 4-wheel drive system. You also have an air suspension in this car, so there's adjustments made there. and you have adaptive shock absorbers as well. So the character of this car changes quite a bit. The weight of the steering changes, the feel of the suspension changes, everything changes. And when you're in Sport Plus mode, body control is actually impressively good for such a big car. You can chuck this thing into a corner and it doesn't roll that much, it doesn't lean that much. You get good composure, things remain flat. And because you have those seats that move around, the dynamic adjusting seats, that you actually stay in place pretty well as well. So if you want to get adventurous in this car, maybe a little sporty, you can actually do it and enjoy yourself. Real quick, I've got the Mercedes in Sport Plus mode. I'm gonna do a quick on-ramp to show you just how little this body actually rolls around in corners. Really not bad. Man, yeah, this is a big car. Wheelbase is over 125 inches long, and it actually handles pretty darn well. And as you can see, body control is pretty impressive. So this car actually feels a little bit smaller than it really is. And that's in the parking lot as well, because this car can be optioned with rear axle steering, and this particular car has rear axle steering. Now Mercedes actually sells it in two different levels, where you have up to 4.5 degrees of rear axle steering and up to 10 degrees of rear axle steering. This has the 4.5 degree rear axle steering version of that, but even with the lesser of the two systems, this can turn surprisingly tightly. With that system, you can maneuver around much tighter spaces you'd expect without having to do some 3-point turns and those kinds of things. It's really seriously good. In fact, my driveway has a tight turnaround, so I'd set up a little demonstration. Let me show you. To quickly demonstrate the rear axle steering, I set up 3 cameras, one aimed at the front axle, one at the rear, and one mounted at the apex of the corner. As I start to make the turn, you can see the front axle turn, but now check out the rear axle. Cool, right? With this 4.5 degree system, Mercedes says the turning circle drops from 42 to 39 feet. And if you get the 10 degree system, it drops to just 36 feet. Of course, at higher speeds, the rear axle will turn in the same direction as the front to increase vehicle stability. Pretty cool system. Anyway, back to the main review. Okay, so there are a lot of positives about the way this car feels and drives. One downside, for me at least, is the way the brakes feel. The brakes are highly assisted and very light. And to me, frankly, they just feel a little over boosted. I wish they were a little bit firmer and a little bit less assisted. But again, this is a luxury car, first and foremost, not a performance sedan. And in that sense, it's got, I suppose, what you would call a very luxury car feel of the brakes. Very light, heavily assisted, easy to get heavy brakes if you need without a lot of foot pressure. And of course, it is a very quiet luxury car, as you can expect. I mean, you could hear, you've got real nice V8 growl coming from this S-Class, but it's very subdued, very much in the background. And cabin noise and road noise is extremely well isolated in here. And Mercedes did a lot of work to make that the case. This car has all kinds of sound deadening material. It has acoustic glass, and it also has something called acoustic foam. Mercedes did something where they sprayed this acoustic foam in between the body shell in parts, and then as the car was being painted, it's kind of baked, it's put in an oven to help cure things. And in that oven, this acoustic foam expands and really pushes up against each other to give this nice tight form around the metal to help dampen things even further. And of course, you have tons of driving assist systems, lane keep assist, lane change assist, obviously adaptive cruise control, all those types of things. In addition to that, you have this really slick augmented reality thing built into the heads-up display. It will digitally print on the road which road you should turn onto. Very, very clever system. All right, everybody, I am now near the freeway, and I put in a little destination because I wanted to show you guys a little bit more of this heads-up display and this thing they call augmented reality. This car has what's called the technology package, which is a $3,000 option that includes Augmented Reality, which will, in addition to giving you this big heads-up display, which you can see right here, at least I think you can see, it will actually give you arrows kind of like implanted, digitally implanted onto the road to show you what direction to turn and when to turn. It's all kind of crazy. So I wanted to give you a brief demonstration of that. Also, it will give you a sense of just how quiet and comfortable this car is on the interstate. All right, let's go. So as you can see, I've got lots of information right in front of me on the road. I have to move my eyes so little to see my speed, the next traffic direction. I mean, I have nav information in the heads-up display. So I've got all the information I could ever need, and I barely have to move my eyes. Also, as you may or may not be able to tell, you know, we're going 70 miles an hour. It's very quiet in here. I can hear a little bit of the wind and a little bit of the road. It's very, very quiet in here, very easy to hold a conversation at normal volumes, all very impressive. So I'm supposed to exit the freeway right here, and you can see this little blue arrow kind of pop up. It's kind of telling me something's coming. And then you might also be able to see there was a red line showing the edge of the lane right there too. So lots of things going on. Turn signal on, and look at that arrow. Isn't that freaky? Oh man, that's kind of crazy. It's really trippy to see this system work. So there you go. Augmented Reality, the technology package on the S-Class. That is really something. And I briefly mentioned fuel economy. This gets 17 miles to the gallon in the city, 25 miles to the gallon on the highway, 20 combined. Not crazy impressive numbers in the general sense, but for a car this big, that's pretty darn good, especially with this much luxury and performance built into it. This also has a lot of recycled materials in it. So Mercedes, even in its biggest, most luxurious model, is trying to reduce its impact on the environment as it goes. The point is that Mercedes is making those efforts into this car and across this product, and I think that's pretty impressive. And speaking of driver assist systems, Mercedes now knows if your hands are on the steering wheel without moving the steering wheel. So that helps you get the assist that you want, lane keep, lane change, whatever, without having to wiggle the car every once in a while, which was always an annoyance for me. So I'm glad that Mercedes has come up with a way to solve that. Obviously, this car is just completely stuffed with luxury, with technology, with comforts of all different kinds, and it is seriously just in an impressive space to be in. It's really just icing on the cake that it actually is decent fun to drive, and as quick as it is, and looks pretty good too. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you for watching, and if you are still watching, it really helps me out if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Okay, goodbye. All right, time for a massage.